All right, on this episode of the LPDS, we get into another good question from the hotline and talk a little bit about that, kind of run through some of the scenarios from that question, which I love, by the way. I love the hotline questions. I like when people are interacting, trying to get some advice or questions, answers, or opinions, or just some more insight into the crazy, ridiculous life of the LPDS universe here. So get into that. Very minor current events, trying to stay away from those, and pretty good cage facts. So all that's happening right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. Hope everybody had a good week. I did. I'm here in the dungeon, as you can see, at the Libretti compound in New Jersey, in the motherland. I've been down here, holed up for quite some time now, doing some work. I had some guard duty to deal with and some exercise, and the schedules got all jacked up, so I ended up being down here in the dungeon for a while. But I'll be heading back. By the time you listen to this, I'll be back at the LPDS ranch with Randy. He's currently looking out the window at some deers. He's probably going to start barking and going crazy here soon, I'm sure. I'm trying to keep it down a little bit, a respectable volume, because I got my mother, Crazy Carol, upstairs getting the house ready to celebrate JPL III's 70th birthday. So by the time you listen to this, it'll be his birthday week. We're celebrating it a little earlier because, I'm home and we wanted to celebrate, keep it low key, have something, nice and with the family, but not anything crazy. There's Randy in the background. Hey, buddy. So that's what we're doing here, folks. As you can also see, if you're looking in YouTube land, the dungeon has not gotten cleaned up very much lately, and that's fine. I think I mentioned it previously, but when my parents moved to this house a couple years ago, they were essentially moving 3 houses worth of stuff, 3 families worth of stuff over here, because at the previous house we lived at all of our grandparents, most of our grandparents lived with us at one point in time, not all together at the same time, but we first moved my father's parents in, my, JPL II and Big Margaret. And then we eventually moved my mother's father in, Big Al, after that. So with that came selling of their houses, and all their stuff came with them. And if you remember, JPL II used to own a family junk shop. So he came with 60 plus years of junk with him, and we're still sifting through it to this day. It's currently down here boxed up in the dungeon, and we're trying to go through it box by box, see what's actually worth keeping, see what's worth selling, see what's hot trash. A lot of World War II magazines. That's all I got to say. A lot of World War II magazines to sift through. So they're making it happen when they can. Don't forget, my parents still work. They bought their retirement home and they didn't retire yet. So that's slowing the process down a little bit too. So that's what we got going on. In other news, the New York Giants stink. But here's what I'll say about it. If you remember last year, on this very show, maybe in this dungeon, I'm trying to remember now. It could have been here. We said that the Giants stunk, and that if anything, they were going to stink themselves through to the playoffs. And I said Super Bowl. It was a bold prediction. It was wrong. So I admit that. But we were kind of right with them stinking their way to a successful season. And I think they might do it again. They're supposed to be better. On paper, they got more weapons for Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. That Tub coach Dayball is pretty good. I like him. I don't know how I feel about the defensive coach. Everyone loves him. All the announcers sing his praises, but his first name is Wink, and that's weird. Not judging the guy for that. I know I shouldn't be judging a book by its cover. We'll get into people's names later on in the Junction, actually. But there are a few names out there that if somebody is named that, I have a hard time trusting them. I talked about Chip before from HGTV, Chip and Diane or Joanne or whatever her name is. The guy goes by Chip. I mean, come on. I'm not trusting that guy. So I certainly have a hard time trusting a guy named Wink. That being said, everybody in the NFL loves him for some reason. But the Giants defense continues to stink in the secondary, giving up a lot of yardage all the time, touchdowns galore. They stink. They don't make any plays, but when a play goes in the Giants' favor, even if they had nothing to do with it, they have no problem celebrating. I'll never understand that. Who's celebrating when you didn't do anything for the play? You didn't contribute to the success of the play, and your team is losing because the Giants are almost always losing. If they played 3 games so far, and of the 60-minute games, 15 times 4, what is that? 45? I can't do math. No, it's 60. 99% of the minutes have been on the losing end for the Giants. So what are you celebrating? Your team stinks. You stink. You got lucky on that particular play. Get back in the huddle and tell Fatso Wink to figure it out and make some stops for once. That being said, they're not terrible. They're bad. But they're not terrible. They're not going to go 1-16. They're 1-1. They're 1-2 right now. At the time of this recording, they're not going to go 1-16. I don't think. Do they make the playoffs? It's going to be tough. The NFC East is pretty stacked this year. As much as I hate to say it, the Dirty Birds in Philadelphia are pretty solid again. The stupid Cowboys are good right now, or they're playing good right now, but I think it's only a matter of time. One of their guys just got injured. Dak Prescott stinks. Jerry Jones is a monster. He usually finds a way to ruin things for everybody. And the Cowboys fans are insufferable. So hopefully they continue stinking. They'll stink in the future, hopefully. But yeah, it's going to be tight. I think the Giants are going to stink themselves through maybe a 500 season. Maybe. I would consider that to be a successful season for the Giants if they can stink themselves through that, because they're already dealing with injuries, plus the fact that they're not good. That's a kind of dangerous combination. All right. I've been there. I've been injured and bad at a sport and tried to play it, and it did not go well for Libretti. So that's all I'll say on the Giants right now. A lot of season left. So we'll see how it turns out. But remember this. If we're right, remember this episode 178. If we're wrong, no, we weren't. Delete this. Never happened. Staying in sort of the football world, but really the football gossip world. Heavy gossip and rumors and drama going on between Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs and Taylor Swift. There was some article pushed out, I don't know how long ago, last week, 2 weeks ago. Someone is saying that they're quietly seeing each other, the two of them, and that's pretty much all they said. They had no evidence, no pictures, no nothing. Just a source said that they're quietly seeing each other, and then things kind of blew up from there. The Taylor Swift, what do they call it? I know they're Swifties, but the Taylor Swift camp of all those diehard psychopath Swifties went right on the offensive immediately, trying to decipher what the truth is, pushing out intel, more rumors, getting after Travis Kelce. He's a douchebag. He's a creep. he's not good enough for her. She needs to stop cleat chasing. She's better than that. She shouldn't be dealing with athletes. They suck, whatever it was. And then the Kelsey brothers didn't really help much at all because they're kind of facilitating the rumor, and Travis Kelsey is sort of acting like a dick about it. As a Taylor Swift fan, I've said this for years now, and me and my old roommate and brother-in-arms, Cheech, I'll keep his name out of it for, to protect the innocent in case he doesn't want to be involved. But we always said for years now that we wanted to write a letter to Taylor Swift. This is especially back when she was dating all those actors and weirdo musicians and artists and stuff that were no good for her, that the most American thing she can do is date a wholesome military man with good values, a good head on his shoulders, willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good, can handle high stress environments, in this case, her fame and glory, doesn't need to be in the spotlight, doesn't do it for himself, does it for others. And someone who's secure in himself, that can handle her being viciously hit on and rumors and this and that and always in the spotlight constantly. A good military man is the only person who can handle that. Now, there are not always good military men in the military. I get it. I lived it. I understand. But a good one like myself or Cheech, we always felt that it was our duty for her and our country to do this for her. So we always wanted to write a letter. That's who she should be dating. Frankly, in my mind. So we always pushed that out. And I still to this day think that I have nothing against Travis Kelsey or NFL players or actors in generally speaking, individuals maybe, but she definitely needs to date somebody better. And you're looking at him. That being said, I think what's going on here is that maybe they hung out a couple times. Taylor's PR team came out and said that they only hung out twice. It's very informal, kind of just going with things. She's in her fun girl era, which kind of simped and cucked, whatever term you want to call it, Travis Kelsey, but pretty much saying like, I'm just having fun. You're a nobody to me. You're a rest stop on my road trip to happiness and success or whatever. I don't know. So good on her for saying that. That's a ballsy thing to say. I mean, she is top tier. But I think what's going on here is that the Kelsey brothers just put out a documentary on the Kelsey brothers. I think mainly it's Jason. Is it Jason Kelsey, the older brother for the Eagles? Because they were in the Super Bowl together. Their family came. They have a podcast together. Shaking the table here. It seems like you got my parents' dog barking upstairs. I bet you Nikki Sticks just got in for the shenanigans later today. So there's craziness. Now Randy's on the move. So it's going to get loud in here, folks. So yeah, they had the documentary out. They had the podcast. I think they're playing into these rumors and making it seem like a bigger deal than it is because it's getting their name in the biggest spotlight in the world right now, the Taylor Swift spotlight. So whether you love them or hate them, you're talking about them, and easy, Randy, over there. And they're going to get more views on that documentary, and more views means more money. All right. And that's what the name of the game is for these folks sometimes. So either way, everyone's going to win. Okay. Here's the thing. Taylor Swift is no idiot. All right. Whether you like her or not, whether you agree with her politics or not, or you think her singer sucks or not, whatever it is, Taylor Swift knows what she's doing. She is allowing this to go on. Whether they're actually dating or not, doesn't matter. She's allowing the rumors to ruminate. That's probably not the right word, but I don't know big words sometimes. But she's letting this all happen because let the Kelseys get their clout to pump their stuff. They'll get viewership and money and attention. She's obviously getting more attention from it. I don't know how you can get more than she has, but she's getting more for it because now she's got the NFL fan base in there. So everybody's winning. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. They're both going to be fine. All the Swiftie fans are going to move on and be fine. It's all very clear and calculated, in my opinion, and good on them for doing it. Honestly, I wish I had that level of influence, I guess you can say. Not in the Instagram sense where I'm an Instagram influencer. I don't want to be anything like that. But just the ability to have that much influence and control over everything going on in my life to the point where it's stopping the presses. I would love to be able to stop the presses one time with some sort of major scoop. And whether it's fake or not, I could sit back on my throne or dive into my pool of gold coins like Scrooge McDuck from all my success, laughing all the way to the bank about it, knowing that whatever is being said about me, I'm going to keep letting it go on because I'm rolling it. And my family's going to benefit from it. My friends will benefit from it. Everybody's going to be benefiting from it. So that's the goal for me anyway. So keep a lookout for successful Libretti because then the scoops are going to start hitting the papers. Probably bad scoops too, but no press is bad press these days. With that, we'll just jump right to it. Get to the good stuff. I'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Can't even read my chicken scratch. This Into the Cage sponsor. Hello. This Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Cream Between Cookies. Are you an Oreo lover, but you're too poor or cheap or both and don't want to pay the extra 62 cents for the brand name alone and also enjoy eating disgusting, dry imitation versions of good junk food? Then get yourself a pack of Cream Betweens today. From the makers of the imitation snack Stinkies, Cream Betweens is a terrible tasting cookie sandwich filled with white mystery goo that you wouldn't wish in the mouth of your worst enemy. So if you're a fatso on a budget and looking to live dangerously, just stop by aisle 29 of your local Piggly Wiggly and pick up a pack of Cream Betweens today. And if you use the promo code Cream Guzzler at checkout, you'll get a free penicillin prescription. Those are a real thing, folks. Maybe not at the Piggly Wiggly or any other grocery store that normal people go to, but those are real. All right? And I've had them before. Was it Cream Betweens or some other imitation version of Oreo? Before my mother was a taste tester in Nabisco, we would buy imitation stuff like that because we were on a budget. And we had, I don't know if it was called Tasty Creams or some other inappropriately named imitation cookie for Oreos, but we've had them. They're not good. Okay. The thing about the imitation stuff is that they can't use the patented recipe that these big names have. Oreo has a patent or copyright, whatever it is, trademark on their recipe and ingredients for their product. So it's not just a name change that's going on. They have to use other crap or they're going to get sued for a lot of money. So their cookies suck. But you save a couple shekels, you don't necessarily die. You might go brain dead, but you won't necessarily die. And you get a free penicillin shot with it. So there you go. All right, the Cage fact. This is more of like a Cage homage, if you will. I know I'm always butchering that word, homage. And every time I say the word, I remember how I butcher it and I say both pronunciations, and that's what happens. So this is really more of an homage to Nic Cage. Marilyn Manson had to appear in court last week. He had to appear in court because he was charged with, I don't know, I guess, I don't know if it's assault or what it was, but he essentially hocked up a loogie and snotted on a videographer at one of his concerts at a venue in like New Hampshire or something. And he appealed and asked if he can do the court hearing via Zoom because he was just going to plead guilty and get community service for it. They said, no, you got to be in person. So he showed up dressed like Nic Cage when Nic Cage was in Renfield. He didn't have the vampire teeth or anything like that, but he had the look, the glasses, the black suit, the black on black on black. And he looked just like him. If I remember to post a picture of it, I'll pop it up right here. But it was an incredible look. I had to have been purposely done. There's no way he did it ironically. He knew what he was doing. He was paying his respects to the great one, as we all should. And it just goes to show you, Nic Cage is everywhere. His influence is everywhere. You think Taylor Swift's influence is everywhere? Nic Cage is all over the place. And that's the Cage fact. Real quick, though, dream scenario, the trailer came out for that movie. Watch it. Watch the trailer. The movie's going to be spectacular. All right. We'll move on over to the Junction and spin the logo up. Randy's going crazy with people upstairs. It's getting annoying. Hopefully it's not too interruptive. Is that a word? It is now to the show. But got a question from the hotline. I'm going to play it here and then we'll talk about it. Good question, by the way. Stand by.
Bard, I'm listening to the AMA. I'm sorry I missed it to get a question in, but here's one for you for whatever episode you want to answer it at. If you're graced with having a kid, future down the line, one, are you going to continue the line of JPL V? And do you feel any pressure from your family to do so? That's the question.
All right. Good question. Thank you for that, Wet Cat. I think about this on a constant basis. Not because, like, I'm vain. I don't even know what vain really means, so I can't be vain. Maybe I am inadvertently. I don't know. But I think about this constantly because I don't know what I'm going to do. On one hand, I absolutely want to keep the name going. Easy, Randy. Calm down, buddy. You're okay. Yeah, everything's going to be fine. There are very few, if any, fives in families these days. We're talking, British royalty style with that naming scheme. So there's not a lot of fives out there if there are any. I've only met 1 4 in my life. I happened to go to school with this guy who was a year ahead of me. James Blank the Fourth. I'm not going to say his name, to protect the innocent again. He was the only other fourth. I've seen a couple thirds and mostly juniors and stuff. So I would like to see a 5, I think. I don't necessarily know. When I was a kid, it was automatic. When I have a son, he's going to be John V, no doubt about it. And then, this is so stupid. I was watching the 1994 World Cup with Italy in it. And Roberto Baggio was playing. I think he was the captain at the time. And I loved that last name, Baggio. And I wanted to name my kid Baggio because I was super into the stereotypes of Italian Americans and this and that. So I was like, I want Baggio Libretti. Now I realized that Baggio is not a first name; it's a last name. Easy, Randy, easy, buddy. But I do know that there is a Biagio in the Italian community. In fact, I went to school with a gal whose brother's name was Biagio. And I think I have some cousins named that too, even. So then that became part of the list of possible names for my son, for one of my sons, Biagio Libretti. Keep it greasy. But then I went back and forth again with the JPL V. So I'm still undecided. I'm still undecided about kids. I don't even know if I can have kids, let alone want them. So I'm still kind of teetering on that. I'd like to have a family of my own one day, whether it's, kids by birth or adoption or what have you. Obviously, I can't be counting my chickens before they hatch because I need to, start the family first. That's what you got to do. Can't just go picking up random kids and call them your own. That's called kidnapping. So I still don't know what I want to do. Now, I have to admit that this is definitely a factor in my decision making on this. Besides whatever my future wife would want to do, she has a say in it. Obviously, it's going to be her kid. It would be her kid too. But the Italian tradition or Catholic tradition, I don't know if it's Catholic or Italian Americans, whatever it is. The tradition is you name your firstborn son after the father's father, after your paternal grandfather. My family, for lack of a better term, we're dopes. Okay, the Librettis are dopes, and that's okay. I'm proud of what we are because we've doped our way to success and happiness and good families and loving people and whatever. Okay, everyone's doing just fine. I'm not saying we're dopes in a negative sense. Back up, Randy. Come on, buddy. We're dopes. So instead of going with the grandfather thing, JPL I decided he was going to name his son after him, his first son, or one of his sons after him instead. And we got JPL II, my grandfather. Now, JPL II and Big Margaret, it's sort of unknown. We'll never know now if they named my father after JPL II or if they followed the normal tradition of naming after the grandfather, which would have been JPL I. Because technically, they followed suit. They followed the tradition. But we don't know. Again, it was born out of dopiness, so we don't know for sure if that's the reason why they did it. It just happened to work out that way. And then I'm pretty sure my father just decided, he just wanted to continue the dopey tradition on purpose, knowing it doesn't matter at this point. I'm going to be named after my grandfather. I'll be named after my great-grandfather and after him, so I'll be the fourth. So that definitely plays a factor in my decision on whether I want to name, my kid the fifth after his grandfather, or, risk the whole idea of like, I'm just continuing to be dopey like the rest of my family and naming it after me. It's certainly not out of vain. There's no sort of like legacy that they have to live up to. And that kind of goes to the second part of your question there, Wet Cat. Is there pressure from the family? And I think because it was born out of stupidity, there hasn't been any pressure. No. In fact, we laugh about it, but having the same name as family members a lot of times poses problems. Besides the fact that at any given moment, my family is loaded with John Librettis in the same room during holidays. So there's just confusion, and we all have to have stupid little nicknames for each other. My father was John Peter. I'm Johnny. My grandfather was George. Figure that one out. Then my dad's cousin was Colorado John. Don't forget, my grandfather had multiple brothers and sisters. Okay. And a bunch of them named their sons after the grandfather, John. So there's a lot of John Librettis roaming around that are all part of the same family and, same generations and what have you. So it makes for a very funny but very confusing and stressful environment during holidays when everybody's a John Libretti. So that is something that's always in the back of my mind to consider when I'm naming my kid. It's also created problems for me when I was going for my security clearance because the stupid government apparently doesn't care what your social security number is. They go by your name. So when they look at your finance history and life history and this and that, they just see John Libretti and they just loop you all into one, which is, again, the dumbest thing you can do, but it's the government. They can't even run the post office. So I had to deal with that stuff going through with my clearance and getting that cleared out with my name because it had nothing to do with me. Some of the stuff that they try to hang me up on was stuff that happened before I was born. And I even asked them the question. I said, "Didn't you see when this stuff went down?" They're like, "Yeah." I go, "Did you see my birth date?" "Oh, I didn't really think about that." That's because you're idiots. Our government is run by idiots, folks. Okay, you could pretend all you want. You could stick your head in the sand all you want about it. But the government is our country is led by absolute nincompoops, morons who are also morally corrupt and selfish and only care about their own line in their own pockets to keep in power. So that's talk about a dangerous combination. Stupid bad guys. So that's another consideration. But I think because of all of that, my family never really pressured me into, you have to better name your kid John P. Libretti V. I think it would. I don't know if they would think it's nice or funny or whatever. They never pressured me one way or the other. But I will say I have sort of lived a very similar existence to my old man as far as like our childhood stories go and the riffraff we hung out with and stuff like that. I mean, he used to tell me about the gangs he used to hang out with. Not bad people, but his gang of fellas back in the day. He used to play stickball. They used to hang out on street corners. They used to get in trouble. They used to get in fights. My dad would run away and then his friends would protect him. I used to do that a lot where I would take a lot of verbal jabs at people and shit talk people, knowing that my friends who were all bigger and stronger than me were right there next to me behind my back. So in case we got into a scrap, I was pretty confident we were going to win. Not that I would have run away. That is one thing I wouldn't do. I wouldn't run away, but I would continue taking cheap shots. I would go for the ball bag. I'll kick the shins. And then I'll kind of hide behind my big friend so they can take the brunt of the fight. And then when the guy is, on the ropes, I'll come in for the finishing blow. Stuff like that. But yeah, my dad was in little gangs. And, I was in a biker gang too. And I don't know if I ever told this story, but back in the day, middle school maybe, I was in a big time biker gang. And my family knows about it. You can ask them, "Hey, was your son, was John in a gang, a biker gang?" And they'll know the name of it. They'll know all the gang members. And we were pretty serious. We used to ride our bikes around town. I had a Mongoose hand-me-down stunt bike. This was back when Mongoose was the name in stunt bikes. Before X Games, right around the time of X Games starting, all the BMX stuff, it was Mongoose was the bike of choice. So I had a hand-me-down Mongoose for a little bit, and then I had a GT Bump, it was called, and it was camouflage color, and it was bitching. And in my town, it was the town I grew up in when I was in middle school. It was predominantly Jewish in the area that I lived in. So all my friends within biking distance were my Jewish friends. And then there was maybe like two or three other Italian types in the gang. And I'll never forget how we got the name of our gang. We used to ride around town. We used to hit up 7-Eleven. There was about 15 or 20 of us at any given time, especially in the summer. And we would go to 7-Eleven. We get Slurpees from Joe, who ran the 7-Eleven. Indian fella, awesome guy. Always hooked us up. Get Slurpees. And then we would hit this skate park that somebody made for like skateboards and roller blades to hit jumps and stuff. And we would hit the jumps on our bikes like cool guys. And then after that, we would roll around town looking for other people to pick up for the gang. And one day we drove up to my buddy James's house. And we wanted James to come out and be part of the gang, get on his bike, come out and roll with us. And his older brother and his older cousin were shooting hoops in the driveway, playing basketball. And when I say older, they were in late high school, getting ready to go to college. Older, they were men by that time. According to us, we were, 6th, 7th grade. And we roll 15 people deep. A bunch of Jewish kids and a couple of big-nosed Italian idiots rolling up and asking, hey, where's James? We got to go. And his brother looks at us and he's laughing. He's like, you got yourself quite the biker gang there. What do you guys call yourselves? And my buddy Brian, he had a mushroom cut. Okay. He had long straight hair that he did the bowl cut. He would pull it up in like a ponytail top, like the weirdo creature from Beetlejuice with his hair pulled back, and then they would shave his head underneath, sort of like a pseudo Brad Taylor from Home Improvement type. And then he would drop it down. He had a perfect mushroom bowl cut, looked like a penis tip. And out of nowhere, out of left field, he's in the middle of the crowd. And James's brother Harrison said, what do you guys call yourselves? And he comes out and he goes, we're the Killer Peepees, man. And obviously we didn't want to go against him. He was part of the gang. You don't go against the gang. But the name was ridiculous, the Killer Peepees. So we kind of gave him a look, and he was confident. And then we looked back at Harrison and the cousin Todd, and we're like, yeah, we're the Killer Peepees, baby. And we're cursing up a storm because cool kids back in the day, our parents weren't around. We were cursing up left and right like cool guys. We're the effing Killer Peepees, baby. Yeah, don't mess with us. Meanwhile, those two could have kicked the shit out of us with no problem. Okay, we're all a bunch of acne-filled humphead kids with no toughness whatsoever, except for like one kid on our, Anthony Mecca was one of the only tough guys that we hung out with. And we were pretending we were just in it. Once we got confident in the Killer Peepees name and that gang, we were in it. And nothing was stopping us until it was dinner time. And then all our parents came out and would beat the crap out of us if we weren't, back of the house eating and doing our homework. So all that to say is, I've lived a similar social existence that my father had. He also played baseball in college a little bit before he quit. That's one thing I won't do. I'm not a quitter. But he had a lot of similar shenanigans and stories. So in that light, I'm sort of following in his footsteps inadvertently, where it's two shrimpy, big-nosed grease balls that kind of made our way through life and had friends that protected us and were funny and are still family to this day. So if I were to use the name JPL V, it would be fitting for sure. And hopefully I'm sure people are going to get mad at this and not going to get the joke in it, whatever. I hope all my kids look like me. That's one thing I think my father lucked out on, is that it's undeniable. I'm a Libretti. I look just like my father. And it's uncanny. It's strange at times to see, but I look just like my father. And I hope my kids look just like me. My sons, and if I have a daughter too, One, because it'd be more fitting to have a JPL V look like the JPL lineage. And two, if I have a daughter and she looks like me, when she's younger, we won't have to worry about guys trying to take advantage of her. So it's not a bad thing. I don't want them to be ugly so I can make fun of my kids. I want them to look like me to build character and also to protect them. And they won't understand it until they're adults, and I get that. I'm okay with that, making that sacrifice early on in the short term to reach success and happiness for them in the long term. That's a leadership tactic. You always strategically plan for long-term success. So hopefully if I do have kids that look like me, maybe I'll name one of them JPL V, maybe I'll name one of them Biagio. Maybe I'll marry Miss Marissa Tomei and she'll boss me around and I won't have a say in it at all. And I'm okay with that too. There are very few women that I will completely cuck simp over, and she's one of them. And if she says she wants her son's name to be Vinny, we got Vinny Libretti. And that's really all I have to say about that, folks. So that was a good question. That was fun. Keep the questions coming. I love the interaction, especially on the hotline, because it's a little bit more personable. You can hear like the jokey nature of people in their tone of voice, or if it's a serious question, you can hear it in their tone and their voice. So that's why I prefer the hotline. But thank you for that submission. Randy's still anxious over here. He wants to go see what the hubbub is about upstairs, and I'm shaking the table so the camera's going everywhere. People are probably throwing up watching this episode, but that's okay too. Before we go, though, the big three. The three pillars to the LPDS is staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, more genuine, healthier human being, and spreading that goodness and positivity throughout the land. Number one, exercise every day. Do something to improve your physical, mental, or emotional health and wellness every day. Whether it's a workout, going for a walk after a meal, reading a book, taking up a new hobby, meditating, doing a crossword, praying, doing breath work, something that's going to exercise your mind, body, or soul. One thing every day, you'll be better off for it. Number two, the hardest one to do, don't be a shitty person. Be a kind person. Okay, the easiest thing we can do is let our emotions get the best of us in a negative shit situation and respond to it in kind and add to the negativity and the shit in that situation. All I'm asking you to do is to detach from your emotions in those instances and just don't engage whatsoever. Just by the simple act of omitting yourself from negative situations, whether it's in person or online, responding to someone, even if you think they deserve it, just by omitting yourself from those situations and not doing anything, you're already minimizing the negativity and shit going on in the ether. Then you're providing yourself the brain space, the mental, emotional space to focus on more productive, positive things in your lives. And by getting yourself out of the negative and allowing yourself the ability to spend more time in the positive, you're going to be better off for it in the long run. Number three, the most important one, is be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. And you could do this by just thinking of at least one thing a day. Start off by one thing a day you think about that's good in your life, and think about what your life would be like without that thing. And that will immediately put you in a state of gratitude for having that in your life, that person, that pet, that roof over your head, your toilet, running water, whatever it is. You'll start being more grateful for having that after you actively think about what your life would be like if that thing was not around. Imagine you don't have running water or a toilet in your house. That's a nightmare to me. I always joked about it, but I'm kind of serious. If I ever got held hostage in war, do whatever you got to, beat me up, break my limbs, do whatever. But if I don't at least have toilet paper to clean myself up after I go, number two, just kill me. At that point, just kill me. I can't do it. I couldn't do it. So I'm absolutely grateful for running water and toilet paper and all that seemingly minuscule things. And that's what that does. That's what these exercises do. It puts us in the state of gratitude, so we're not automatically taking things for granted like we usually do. And I'm guilty of it too. Okay. But if you do all those three things, at least once each day and every day, you're going to be a better, happier, kinder, more genuine, healthier human being. And that shit's going to spread to all those around you. And you're going to live in an abundance of good health, wellness, positivity, all that. So that's all I got today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends and enemies. Hit the hotline. It's 202-670-1114. I'm looking at you right in the YouTube land screen. 202-670-1114. Leave a voicemail on the hotline, whatever you want to talk about. It can be a thought you had, your own opinion. It could be a question. It could be a topic you want me to discuss and get my take on. Whatever it is, leave it. 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.